We are working with the brand and we made them about $18 million in a month on Amazon. You have to have a good listing with good reviews, all that set up to pass the literacy test. And then really you have to have your website set up with good reviews and retargeting, all those type of things, because the first thing that happens is, you see an advertising on Meta or TikTok, and then you're like, well, is this full of malarkey or not? People's bodies were a little bit different compared to where they are today, right? Let's just be real about that. That's the same phase that e-commerce is going. You have to go and you have to work out, and you have to work out better than anybody else, but you're not going to beat the guy who's eating right, exercising, having supplements and all those type of things when you come to the gym.
Our guest today is Ryan Flanagan, CEO and founder of Nuanced Media. Ryan has been an impassioned thought leader in e-commerce, multi-channel marketing, and growth strategies for more than 15 years. Now, during that time, he has worked with hundreds of companies to establish best practices, focusing on the 20% of effort that produces 80% of revenue. We all know the 80-20 rule. He's worked with Amazon-based e-commerce businesses, has generated hundreds of millions of dollars of sales online. Ryan Flanagan, my newfound friend, welcome to the show.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It is totally my pleasure. I knew when we first met, within 30 seconds, dude, it was like, all right, we're going to hit it off and we're going to have a great conversation. And that's why we're here. Yeah. So I want to jump in.
We're both pretty shy people, So
no, I know. Yeah. I don't expect a lot of, dead air.
Maybe too much air. A lot of hot air, right? Yeah.
So I want the audience to know about you and your background, and then how Nuanced came to be.
Sure. So as you're saying, I'm Ryan Flanagan. I started Nuanced Media about 2010. Started as kind of more of a website development company, went into business development, helped a company get acquired for about $40 million. And in 2017, we were working with the brand and we made them about $18 million in a month on Amazon. And at that point, we said, hey, there's something to this. This Amazon thing is really happening. Why don't we really kind of focus on that? So that's what we've been doing ever since, just diving into the e-commerce space, really focusing on Amazon. We're an Amazon partner, have numerous contacts at Amazon. And that's really what we kind of do there. On a personal level, I'm a father, I'm a friend, I'm an advocate for pickleball, nonprofits, and all those type of things. So yeah, I'm on that pickleball train, if you will, too. I'm before.
Yep. So tell us a little bit, what were you doing before Nuanced?
So I had a company, and as most entrepreneurs, not most, but us unfortunate ones, I had a company that failed, honestly. My father had passed away before I turned 21, and I had some family inheritance, and I started up the next big social media company back when MySpace was around and Facebook. Kind of did that pivot, looking at the Greek life, focusing on Greek interaction, built out the whole thing, like fraternities and sororities, and then they wanted to spend a few $100,000 building that out, and then they wanted to be able to approve everybody who put content up online. So you can understand every undergraduate have to go in through nationals to be able to approve their content and all that type of stuff. And that kind of fell flat on its face. And so I moved back to Arizona with my tail between my legs, living in my mom's house when I was in my early 30s with my MBA, delivering pizzas part-time. And that's when I founded Nuanced Media, and the rest is history.
I love it. I love stories like that. I really do. It's your passion.
Yeah. Or insanity, A or B.
There's a fine line. Look, like every other industry, there's no shortage of competitors, right? In this case, Amazon marketing agencies, trying to be as objective as you can. But what does Nuance do differently?
Well, I think the first thing that you really have to look at is that Amazon's changing fundamentally. In 2017, when we made that, $17, $18 million for that client in the month, there's barely any agencies out there. You could basically throw up a listing and get stuff up and start selling. You didn't have a ton of Chinese competitors. It wasn't difficult to be a premium brand on Amazon and all these things. So fundamentally, Amazon's changing. And I think that's the first thing that we recognize in Nuanced Media. There's a lot of competition that comes in the space. It's just kind of SaaS model, and it's software running your advertising, and you kind of get this AI in there and all these other things, which we've tried pretty much all of them to find out which partners work best with us. And then we work with those partners, those softwares, but then we really take the keen eye on it from a extracurricular way. What keywords are actually converting for you in your pay-per-click content? Then if it is converting for that, let's update on the SEO titles and those things so you actually rank higher. Let's look at your returns. How can we reduce returns? How can we improve reviews? How can we do all these other type of things? How can we run split tests on the main image to increase your click-through rate? For example, we did a split test for a client and we increased their click-through rate by about 65%, which just drove their sales from, $10,000 a day to hundreds of thousands of dollars a day in sales. And really by doing kind of those nuances, quote unquote, you really can do a better job. It's not a software. You have to be strategic about it. You have to look what you're doing on Amazon, really kind of focus on that first. And then once you're done with that, what we really do is we have fractional CMO consulting on, then what do we do on Shopify? How do we start going that and getting that up? Because Amazon's about 49% of product search and Google's about 35% of product search. And what people don't realize is that they fuel each other, right? So what we really do at Nuanced is we kind of focus on the inbound side of things very well. And then when you're getting into more social media marketing, all those type of things, then we have partners that we work with. But what we find is before you do the advertising on TikTok or Meta or anywhere like that, you have to be really secure on your inbound strategy. You have to have a good listing with good reviews, all that set up to pass the litmus test. And then really you have to have your website set up with good reviews and retargeting, all those type of things, because the first thing that happens is, you see an advertising on Meta or TikTok, and then you're like, well, is this full of malarkey or not? For example, I have an old story that I've been telling for years. A few years ago, I saw, it was July, and I'm in Arizona, and there were mosquitoes everywhere. And I saw an ad for a mosquito killing machine that killed mosquitoes for 3 kilometers around. It was developed out by a 13-year-old who got $10 million in funding, and it was the next thing. Right? I'm like, oh my God, I hate mosquitoes. Let's kill them all. That's great. So then immediately I searched it out on Amazon to see if it was malarkey or not. And it was. It had, 2.5 stars. It didn't do well. And that killed their campaign, right? So what you really need to do is kind of take a strategic approach anytime you're launching a new product or with your brand and do a phase side of that. So that starts with Amazon because Amazon's 49% of product search. You focus on doing that well and better than anyone else there. Then you take it to Google because then you get 35% of inbound search. And then you have 80% plus of inbound search, which typically has the best return on investment for new purchases.
It's fascinating that. Do you think there's a bit of a misnomer that people don't realize that Amazon and Google need to work together?
I think in today's kind of segmented business mind, because think about the customer journey of a brand. You have somebody that does Amazon better, and then you have somebody who does Google better, and then you have another team that does Meta, and you have another team that does retail distribution, and all these things, and you're not collectively looking as a whole. And quite frankly, there's so much misinformation out there that a lot of brands start out on Meta or start out here. And if you don't have your fundamentals right, I kind of look at this like architecture of building a house, right? You don't build the second story of the house, which in my argument here would be Meta or TikTok shops, before the foundation is laid. Amazon's the foundation, and then the first story is really Google. And then you start layering on top of that Meta, TikTok, retail distribution, getting into retail stores and building those out to really accelerate your brand. And that's not a simple concept because it's kind of thinking about physical health, right? Amazon used to be, and this is what a lot of people are still preaching on Amazon, it's like a gym membership. You go and you just pump iron, right? Well, it's not working out in the 90s. You can't go pump iron and drink beer and have pizza afterwards and expect to get in shape. You got to pump iron and then go home and have your protein shake and, eat well and do all these type of things to be the best version of your brand that you could be. And that's what Nuanced really kind of focuses on is how do we not just look at Amazon? Well, Amazon's a huge part. You need to be able to work out efficiently in the gym. But then also, how do we have our protein shake? How do we have our supplements? How do we stretch? How do we do yoga? How do we do all these other things that's going to make you more efficient and more effective as a brand?
I love that analogy.
Thanks.
Like you can't just have one, you need them all.
Well, honestly, that's the type of thing. Like back in the 90s, I'll date myself. I was around in the 90s. People's bodies were a little bit different compared to where they are today. right? Let's just be real about that. And that's the same phase that e-commerce is going through, right? You have to have good reviews. People want to make sure that you're responsive. They want to, and then quite frankly, when you do something on Amazon, well, you can take those reviews and import them to your Google website, cite that they're from Amazon, and then improve your inbound strategy from the Google side too. And by advertising on Google, as I kind of said before, what we always see is once you start advertising on Google, then we see your Amazon ads and sales go up. And it's kind of like a step phase. So like you're just doing Amazon. If you're just on Amazon, you're not going to win anymore, right? Because what's happening is you have these established brands that already have Google going. Maybe they're in retail stores. Maybe they're on TikTok. Maybe they're on Meta and doing all those type of things. And how Amazon wins is by accelerating that algorithm, by accelerating those sales. And the person with the most sales ranks the highest organic. Now, Amazon still plays in space. It's like kind of the gym analogy that you have to go and you have to work out and you have to work out better than anybody else. But you're not going to beat the guy who's eating right, exercising, having supplements and all those type of things when you come to the gym.
Right. Right. You said something earlier. I want to expand on a second. You mentioned how Amazon is changing, right? And to kind of overlay into the SEO world of what Stan's all about and Stan Ventures is when Google makes updates, right? It affects, or when Google changes in this case, we all have to be up to date on what it means for all the SEO of the world. Yep. Talk to us about, does Amazon change a lot, and what do those changes look like? Is it what happens, I guess juxtapose it over the SEO world of when the algorithm changes in Google, you got to, you look at everything. Yep. Is it the same kind of dynamic, if you will?
Hey, sorry for the interruption. We're going to get back to our show in one quick second, but stay with me. If you're in the need for anything SEO and or link building related, you need to do yourself one quick favor. You need to go to the website that's on the screen right now, stanventures.com. Go there, tell them Steve-O sent you. The rest will take care of itself. Trust me. You can thank me later.
So there's a fundamental difference in the Google algorithm and the SEO and the Amazon A9 algorithm. So Amazon's had the same algorithm forever. They're not nearly as transparent on changing things like Google every year. Everybody kind of has a collective, oh crap moment every year when Google updates everything and you see your SEO go up, down, and fluctuate, right? The main factor that goes into the algorithm on Amazon is sales, right? So the amount of sales that you're making, the velocity, because Amazon, unlike Google, gets a commission on that, right? Google doesn't care if you're selling one a day or 10 million units a day. It's about how many backlinks you have, your content, referral points, and all those types of things. Amazon, because it's getting typically 15% commission on seller, the more you sell, the more money they're making, so they're all reward that. Now, there are other components that come into play, just like Google with directory backlinks or topical things or whatever, right? That you kind of have your level of top criteria. But the first one is sales. That's the number one. Then it's content on the site, what you have for content, but also how that affects your conversion rate and your click-through rate, and then your view rate. So they're basically kind of looking at their KPIs. What's your click-through rate? What's your conversion rate on that? And then what's your return rate? What's your overall reviews? And they actually weight your reviews differently based on the recency bias of your reviews, right? So you'll get recent reviews are weighted higher than the other ones. So what we do at Nuanced is, we kind of look at all that, make sure we're hitting all those KPIs appropriately to kind of accelerate the best thing that we can do, because accelerating sales is probably the hardest thing to do, particularly in a competitive space like supplements. For example, we represented an elderberry company for a while, and it was $5 a click for a $20 item for elderberry like supplements or gummies, right? And how are you ever going to win when you have to, well, I have to sell, I have to have a 25% conversion rate on this to break even on this side of things, right? So when you look at those type of things, you have to do everything else you can first, and then you slowly start accelerating on the sales. And we do that by integrating some software that reduces your negative reviews by 20%. We can go through and cleanse all the bad reviews that you've had before, kind of do this overall, take this collective, holistical kind of personal coach or personal trainer, if you will, if we want to stick with the other analogy, to really kind of get you in the best place for that, accelerate you as much on Amazon as you can. And then from there, we kind of do this fractional CMO stuff for, well, now that we got Amazon set up. Let's go to Google. Now that we have that go up, let's work with some of our partners that we work with for retail distribution. Can we get you into Target? Can we get you into Costco? Can we get you into other places? Because people forget that brick and mortar retail is still 80% plus of retail, right? Like people forget because you're still buying online, but go to a Costco on a Sunday and just see how crazy it is.
Yeah.
So the second acceleration there, or the third acceleration, because what we typically do is you get Amazon and Google set up first. And then once you have those two things set up, then you start on the social media while you're doing the retail side, because the retail can take 2-3 years to get into. But once you hit the retail side, you're gangbusters. Because as soon as somebody's in Costco or whatever looking at your product, we represent a brand that won Shark Tank, for example. We're launching something in Costco, hopefully next year for them. And we have Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary, all over the island, right? And that's great because now we know as soon as that hits Costco that their sales are going to accelerate from Amazon. Because what happens is you look at the brand in Costco, and before you spend $200-$300 on something, you want to make sure it has good reviews. You look on Amazon. Sometimes you buy it at Costco, and sometimes you buy it on Amazon. So that's how it accelerates. So you really have to think about that in-hand branding as being one of the key accelerants to your brand.
Interesting. And it's kind of tying into like retail distribution as a whole, right?
Yeah, because the retailers as well, like you have to think about their buying decision. Well, can you keep up with manufacturing? Are you actually want to do what you say? If I put in a $20 million order, can you float for me for $20 million, right? We've kind of taken care of all these different issues for our clients that are ready for retail distribution on that level, because that's a whole quagmire itself. But once you can have that communication with the buyers, but they're looking for retail readiness too. Does it have good reviews? Is it selling well on Amazon? Can I do something unique in Costco or Sam's Club or wherever that's different than what's out there, right? And then quite frankly, is the packaging good enough? Because we work with a lot of brands that have just been doing e-commerce and they're not really retail ready for being on a shelf of the store, right? Because the packaging's different, all those things, right? Like sometimes you just get stuff in a brown box, particularly heavier items. You get a grill and it's just a brown box compared to like, hey, it's the grill that slices and dices and does 5 more things, right?
Right.
Type of thing.
That's interesting. And I hadn't thought of that. And I've ordered stuff, we all have probably on Amazon, it just comes in a generic package because you're buying the product and you already see it on Amazon. You don't really care about the packaging. You just want the actual product. But then when you're in a store, the packaging takes on a whole new weight meaning, right?
Right. Because you can't read the reviews. And that's why this is why the Amazon portion, the inbound portion is so important, is that literally I'm about to make a purchasing decision. And I think we've all done this, particularly with higher price items. If something's under $25, people less likely, I can spend $25. I don't really care if it has reviews or not. But the higher that price becomes, the more important the reviews are. So what do? We look up the brand while we're in Costco, while we're in Target, while we're in these type of things before making that purchasing decision. Because yes, we can return it. Yes, we can do that. But what a pain in the ass it is. You get home, I always theoretically say I'm going to return it. And then how often do I return stuff? Probably 15%.
Yeah, and it's so much easier because who wants to make the trip back to the retail store versus just sending it back to Amazon?
Yeah, but you're going to feel significantly more confident as an end customer if you can search out the product in Amazon. You see it has 4.5 stars, people love it, all those type of things compared to the alternative, the mosquito zapper, for example. And you're like, whoa, thank God I didn't just spend $200 on it because no one likes it.
Right, exactly. So the significance, I think what we're saying, reviews cannot be overstated.
No. Well, it's reviews, it's imagery, it's brand. Yeah. Let's be candid. Like premium brands typically don't do well on Amazon because the end user at Amazon is an elastic customer. They're going for the least expensive option. And this may be a fault of Amazon. This may be a thing, but it's really hard to tell something that's like a premium quality compared to Chinese knockoff or whatever. And if there's a $5 difference, most people are going to go for the $5 one that's less expensive, that has similar reviews and has similar levels. So what we see with our clients is Amazon always plays a pivotal role with what you're doing. But sometimes, to be candid, and a lot of agencies won't identify this, but Amazon's not the vertical for you. Like sometimes you're never going to make sales on Amazon until you build enough brand off of Amazon that people are basically purchasing on Amazon because of everything you're doing everywhere else.
Interesting.
And they prefer to purchase through Amazon because the return policy and all that.
So for folks listening now, I have this new product, or I want to do this, or I want to do that, and I want to get started. What's first steps? Like, what does someone do?
Yeah. So what we do here is I'm not a churn and burn agency. We're a boutique agency. That's not really the goal here. I want to work with long-term people. So what we typically do is we come in and we do an Amazon action. It costs a few $1,000s, but we basically sit down with you, look at the product you're doing, look at the unit economics. Is there anything that has a patent? Are we unique? Are there 1,000,002 other people doing it out there? What does that look like? So on and so forth. Right? If it makes sense, if you have viability, if we can see it going to these different places, these type of things, then we say, okay, this makes sense. Let's start up with setting up Amazon, right? And then you basically take the first 2 to 3 months set up on Amazon. We're an Amazon partner, so we get you basically $20,000 of free stuff from Amazon over the first year. We set that up. We get personal contact at Amazon for you because of this partnership. We basically get you up and launch. We submit to Amazon Vine, so you get the good reviews. We get all that, and then we start accelerating it through Amazon. At that point, you can hit acceleration as far as you can. We do Amazon DSP. We do all these other type of things like, the old analogy from the Untouchables, don't bring a knife to a gunfight, right? We like to bring the gun to the knife fight, right? At that level, we basically start scaling and we do as much as we can on Amazon. But like we're working with the pickleball brand right now, again, and we'll loop back in the pickleball stuff. And they've probably hit their ceiling on Amazon with pickle, right? Just because pickleball is a competitive market. Now we're like, okay, let's go on the website and start building that out. Another thing that we do to accelerate sales just on Amazon is we do affiliate marketing, some of those type of things, because that can actually work out pretty well for you. So again, personal trainer, gun to the knife fight. How do we focus on that? Once you have the Amazon stuff all set up, then you go to Google. You basically take everything that you've done on Amazon, build out your Shopify store, start Google advertising on that, look at your lifetime value, all these other things. What you're always going to typically find is customer acquisition is significantly less expensive on Amazon than Google, but lifetime value is significantly higher on Google than Amazon. So if you're a coffee cup company that somebody buys one coffee cup, it goes off, well, there's no lifetime value. But if you're a supplement brand, then you have to look at the median and where you're going and doing those type of things. And then once you have that kind of foundational stuff set up, then we basically do fractional CMO consulting, and we have a number of partners that do social media. We have a sister company that does retail distribution. We have all these different types of things to say, well, now that we're set up, we have the base, how do we accelerate and how do we build, right? And the hardest thing for me, I think, is that there's quite a bit of misinformation out there. You see all this, and it's been going on, and I've talked to a number of people that have gotten burned, oh, give us $45,000 and we'll make you $1 million on Amazon, and we'll find the product and we'll do all this stuff. And it's just churn and burn economics, right? And it just doesn't make sense.
Well, I was just going to say, you bring up a great point, and we deal with that in SEO and backlinks. And there's enough, I don't know if con artists is too strong of a word, but people just promising the world. And I can imagine it's the same in your industry, your world, your industry.
Well, it's the same industry, right? It's snake oil salesman. Like that's what you deal with. You kind of deal with is, oh, we'll get you up, we'll get going. Just give me, $10,000 up front and we're cool. Right. And then, you're stuck holding that. So yeah, in today's day and age, it's hard to find groups that actually know what they're doing, that are doing it ethically, that have good reviews. Talking about SEO, search Amazon marketing agency or Amazon PPC agency or Amazon agency. You'll find Nuanced Media on the front page of everything, right, on Google, because we've been doing this for a while. We got great reviews. We're long-term. But on that snake oil salesman, we've really seen this in the SEO side of things. Is it seems like every night there's a new 10 SEO companies out there pitching stuff. And they can do real harm. I used to do SEO back when we were doing website design and all those type of things. And I remember we were representing a personal injury lawyer that was doing really well, and we got him flagged by Google. Back in the heyday, and then we had to deal with that type of thing and get them unpenalized and yada, yada. And we lost that client, which is understandable because that was the thing. Now, they had a really good 2-year run, and then they were making a ton of money. and they wanted us to be really aggressive, but we didn't lay out the risks as much as we should.
Lesson
and that's
learned.
the type of thing that you learn by doing this for 15 plus years is be honest, be real, talk, be an advocate. And it's not about quantity of clients, it's about quality of clients, the brands that you
Amen to that. Oh my God, amen to that. I'm looking at the time. I know we're coming up against it, but one thing that struck me, Ryan, within the first 30, 60 seconds of you and I meeting, and one of the reasons you and I get along so well is you're very spontaneous like I am. And I'm going to put you on the spot here and I want to say, what is the most spontaneous thing you think you've ever done in your life?
I've had some crazy times. Okay. So when I was getting my master's in business, I took a summer and I always like giving back to the community. And I moved over to India for a summer. I was working for a non-government organization over there, right? Anyway, if you ever need to lose weight, move to Chennai, India during the summer. Great weight loss program. Really good. But I was over there, and I don't know if any of you ever been to, and Steve, I don't know if you've ever been to India, but the traffic's a little insane, right? Take Italy and multiply it by 15, and that's kind of the traffic in India. Rickshaws flying around all the place and all that stuff. Well, I learned how to ride a motorcycle. So I'd never ridden a motorcycle before in my life and never figured that out. And I figured out how to ride a motorcycle, figured it out in a back alley after 9 p.m. at night, because everything in India is dead after 9 p.m. at night. Learned how to drive and all that type of stuff, and then learned how to ride a motorcycle in India, and then did a week road trip all through southeast India. To the point that we went to a village, and I think we're the first Western civilized people that they'd ever seen. The whole village came in and touched us.
Wow.
Insane stuff. So
that had
to be the most spontaneous.
I love that. That's a great story. Wow. Well, listen, our guest today has been Ryan Flanagan, CEO and founder of Nuanced Media. Ryan, I cannot thank you enough for your time. Highly entertaining conversation, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. I really appreciate you guys and everything you do. And if you guys need a good, just tell you, Steve, if you guys need a good SEO company, these guys are great. They're bar none above all. So
we did not put them up to that either.
You owe me $5 now, Steve. I'll talk to you after.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you again, my friend.
Hey, I'm the guy from the video you just saw. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Now do yourself a favor. If you haven't already, subscribe to our content. Believe it or not, unconfirmed rumors and reports, you will see it increase in 20% in organic traffic just by subscribing. Okay, maybe not, but it's fun, right? But do yourself a favor, really. Subscribe to our content. You won't be sorry. Thanks.